All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th and potentially final map of this IPL Fight Club. And unfortunately, the punching bag is Quantic.Illusion. He is in the orange trunks and he is playing Terran to the southwest versus his opponent, the reigning champion and super heavyweight in this matchup, I've got to say, is StarCraft in the red trunks playing Protoss to the northeast. 4-0 up already.
And we're not sure who Squirtle's opponent is going to be, well, if he ends up taking the game, I guess. Wow, I'm really jumping into conclusions, aren't I? That is...
Well, I don't really blame you. I mean, past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. You know, every scientist will tell you this, but... honestly, Squirtle's slapping Illusion about a little bit here.
Yeah, and I you know, honestly, I do want to hold out hope for Illusion. I really do. The kid is really, really awesome. He's going to be one of the dominating players in NA. At the very least, I want to see him take a couple of games right now for confidence's sake. He's certainly getting the kind of big game experience he needs, and I want to see him take things. Do I think he's going to come back and win 5 games in a row right now? That's unlikely, but you know what? I wish him the best of luck. But the opponent for next week, we're not sure yet. So it was a Terran this week, so we tend to pick non-mirror matchups. If Illusion wins, it'll likely be a Zerg player. In fact, it's probably going to be a Zerg player one way or another, given that we have a Protoss and Terran right now. Yeah,
we shall see. All right, well, what do we got build-wise? Some not-so-standard nonsense coming in here from Illusion. It looks like he's going to go for that proxy 2-rax attempt again. Now, will he be able to do any damage with it, more to the point? I don't know. So I wonder what Squirtle is going to think, because he's seen 1 Rax and he's seen gas go down. Does he think, oh, it's a mech play? Does he think it's going to be a quick Cloak Banshee, for instance? Or does he suspect that 2 barracks Marine Marauder push early game that we saw from Illusion? I believe it was, how many maps ago? I think it was on map 2, if I recall correctly.
I think you're right. So now, here's one thing. He's got to be a little bit confused, because he actually saw 15 gas there. That is a non-traditional time for gas.
Yes, it is, yeah.
It's actually something that players like Braddock messed around with for a while. And, oh, you are so good, Squirtle. He picks up on, and he even sees the add-on drop down before he leaves.
You can't put anything past Squirtle, man. This guy is, he might as well be a GSL champion. He was only stopped by Satan himself in the form of MVP. So, I don't know. Again, I think that Illusion is giving Squirtle a bit too much respect, which is weird to say after I just said that. But it's down to the fact that really good players tend to get a psychological edge because their opponents tend to do dumb stuff in order to try and beat them and catch them off guard, because they don't feel they can beat them straight up. But I don't believe that's true. I think if you saw, and indeed we did see, how well he played in the Hot Import Nights. He did play straight up against Hero and did well. He played straight up against MMA, and yes, he lost, but he didn't lose by much.
Yeah, you're right.
He is competent, but unfortunately, he is also young, and I think that he respects these guys a wee bit too much, and we're actually going to see a super safe 3-gate right there to deal with this 2 racks pressure, which I don't see it doing a huge amount of damage.
Yep, no surprise there. So, and it's funny you said Satan himself in the form of MVP. It's just amusing to me to think that Satan himself has wrist problems. So, but disadvantage of being the Lord of Hell, I suppose.
Yeah,
but,
indeed.
You know.
It's a little bit of a problem. The heat down there is particularly bad, I think, for the bones. But I was going to say God, but then again, I would have offended all of the Nest guys, and they would have declared jihad on me for that, I think. So,
but that's actually better, because now I imagine Team IM is some sort of epic struggle all the time for good and evil.
I think it is. Well, that force field was not too shabby whatsoever. There's the nice and easy pick-off right there. Splits it down the middle. Takes a couple of Marines out. Doesn't take any damage either. So the longer this goes on, as we're well aware, the worse it gets, because he's now up against 3 gateways. Illusion is sensible enough to pull back and knowing that this is not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, we'll see him now is saving up for an expansion. Has enough resources available. Just needs to put that down. The SUV's already being sent out. There we go. Expansion for him. We'll see if Squirtle wants to actually put on some pressure, though. I would imagine we'll see an expansion very, very soon. Yeah, he's even got the probe in position, but we're in a similar situation where he does have the potential to put on some 3 or 4 gate pressure here in a second after his expansion. And looks like that probe does throw down the Nexus, so there we have it.
Oh, well, here we go. The push up once again from Squirtle, just making sure that there's no nonsense coming down. Takes piling out for free, no problem at all, but what do you do from here, though? Your 2 racks has failed, you're behind. Not by a huge amount, though, admittedly, because he does actually force those 2 gateways out, so he delayed the Nexus. The problem is, then he potentially leaves himself open to some nasty counter pressure.
And there's a lot of counter pressure you can do on this map. As we can see, Twilight Council is coming down. There's a lot of gas saved up. Blink Stalkers are ridiculous on this map. They are so good. There's so much cliff line you can abuse. And a great force field right there, actually, to keep this SEV out. Really heads-up play by Squirtle. So Blink Stalkers are great. Dark Templar are really great as well. We do have the engineering bay on the way, so missile turrets could pop up pretty soon. But I want to see where this goes from here.
Indeed. I am intrigued. Let us see what happens.
High Templar. Hey. Ooh, 2 base Storm, potentially. So this is a very fun approach.
Well, I think, honestly, if you're 4 games up, you can afford to take a fun approach, especially bearing in mind he did this last time and it actually worked out just fine. Going down the Templar tech was absolutely fine for him. And I've got to say, in this position, also not bad. Because once again, we see the early engineering bay, and we see no factory.
Right.
So what we're going to have is another situation of low medevac count, which means storms are infinitely more effective. You can drain the energy of those few medevacs just with a couple of storms. Just you put down this nasty wave of attrition against your opponent, and then you prosecute that. You push forward, and you do huge damage, wipe the force off the map. At the moment, we're going to see Archon, however, so no storm yet. He obviously has a Twilight Council. He couldn't not.
Right.
So does he go for early charge, let Archon? Maybe he does, or maybe he just makes an Archon just to be safe. We'll see.
It does have a fair bit of gas, and of course you will need that for those High Templar that he's adding on now. A couple more gateways coming up too. Illusion, though, pretty predictable unit composition. Excuse me, Factory does just finish up, and he adds on a starport and reactor while going up to barracks 4 and 5. Never mind, actually, those are barracks 3 and 4. He did start with the 2 barracks and didn't add on any other than that. So,
well, interesting map placement here. Actually, we've got. There it comes. Did he miss that? I think he very well might have.
No, he knows it's there from way before, so it looks like he just wants to try and pressure that. But Illusion, he sees the pylon.
There we go. Yes, indeed. I was going to say, Illusion's actually got quite a lot of units around the map, especially in the kind of areas where you would sneak past a proxy pylon. Charge is coming, so yeah, it is going to be Charge the Archon, which also totally reasonable. The match for that will be the Ghost Academy, which is on its way up as well. Used to be a hell of a lot more effective against that, honestly, because you get the EMPs and the snipes onto the Zealots to do huge damage. But now, unfortunately, no bonus damage against Zealots anymore. It's all about taking out the psionic units, so it is not so great. And you can't snipe an Archon either.
No, that's absolutely correct. So, but those EMPs are going to be invaluable against the against those Archons.
Certainly, and a heavy sentry count as well. So a nice EMP in the center of that's going to cause a lot of problems. And there's the follow-up Storm. I hear people say, well, why didn't you just rush Storm on 2 base? Well, usually you don't do it because Storm becomes more and more effective the larger the army that you're going up against. Storm is, the term diminishing returns doesn't really work there, but Storm against a small army it's just a waste, generally speaking. Archon will be a more effective choice.
You have a time where it's really awesome against early game unupgraded bio units, then it diminishes almost all effectiveness, then comes back and spikes again, as you mentioned, whenever you have a ton of units on the field.
Yes. And
you can complement it with other AoE and kind of, well, the in-game map editor of the force fields, I suppose.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why you can't really blame Protoss for finding Colossi to be a more popular choice at that stage, because even if it is a small number of units, Colossi is still fine, because they've got a ton of HP. They're going to be able to deal with a small number of units just as well anyway, whereas Storm, on the other hand, it's a skill shot, essentially.
Well, Illusion's pushing his way around the side now with a fair Bioforce. He does have +1 weapon stun, +1 armor is on the way, but it's +1 armor already finished up for Squirtle, and that is going to prove to be a little bit more effective for him as he moves along, especially with +2 well on the way now. He's making his way through the middle of the map. Illusion does have a 3rd command center on the way, but once again, it is pretty late. Oh, that's bad, though, losing a few sentries up at the top.
That was a really nice flanking maneuver there, and once again, the infamous scouting factory is used to great effect. It actually gave him a little bit of visibility there and allowed him to maneuver around his opponent, catch a few sentries off guard, and nothing wrong with that, because at this stage, it's not really even about killing the gas, it's about killing the time. It's about getting rid of the energy that was built up on those sentries. Sentries become more valuable over time as they build their energy, just like any other caster.
Okay, well, we'll see now. We're at a little bit of a standstill because Squirtle's just kind of waiting until he has the forces to take out his opponent, but that is giving time for Illusion to do basically whatever he wants, and that is establish a third base, it's complement the rest of his forces, research cloaking even after the Mobius reactor for his ghosts, so he makes sure that he's able to use them as effectively as possible, and no hint of Robotech yet out of Squirtle for that eventual late-game switch.
Indeed. All right, well. Charge the Archon should do the job for the moment, certainly. It's got the forces for it. Charge comes in and meets up. Actually, a few Archons caught out of position fighting the scouting factory. Those Archons just melted incredibly rapidly, but nice feedbacks as well to take out the Medivacs in the air. So a small force remaining here from Squirtle. A little bit of an error in Squirtle's engagement, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so as well. Illusion was able to take advantage of that. Almost ended in disaster for Illusion. And there was a moment where if the charge lots had surrounded as Squirtle wanted and the storm had hit right in the middle, it would have been complete and utter disaster. But as it is, Illusion just going to have to trade energy for energy at the moment. Needs to heal up these forces, of course, and is slowly doing so.
All right, well, Illusion pushing forward with his ghosts again. Can be a little bit of a risk. Are there any Templar with that force? There are. So feedback versus EMP, which these days tends to go in favor of that. But of course, you can snipe these days too, so that works. And there's the cloak. Where is that observer? Well, it's not there. Simple as that. So that's a bit of a problem.
No, because we have 2 robos on the way right now, but none have been started the entire game. So he will not have any sort of detection. Yeah. And we'll see if Illusion's able to take advantage of this and move through the middle of the map.
Well, he gets great map control, no question about that. He has that third secured, or does he? Here come the Zealots down at the bottom, and the 4 squad out of position. A couple of SCVs will go down. He won't be able to build the gas quite as quickly, and that is going to make him cry himself to sleep at night.
That's true. Just the thought of coming up against Squirtle really would make anyone cry themselves to sleep.
That's rather true, honestly, especially considering Squirtle's form in this game. He's really been dealing with his opponent like it was nothing, and he's never really seemed rattled at any point.
Well, we'll see if Illusion can pull things together here. Few units, not really sure what these guys are doing down here. Looks like they took out a forward pylon that were promptly forgotten about, but Squirtle going to be able to make his way out of there. There's a stim in front back there as he tries to check for yet more tech or forward pylons.
You didn't need that health anyway. It's fine.
Apparently not. Well, it is 1-1 upgrades for Squirtle, for Illusion, and let me just pick a Zealot out here, 2-1, so a slightly better upgrade situation for Squirtle, but that's about to disappear with 2-2 finishing up for Illusion.
Yep, can't imagine Illusion actually wants to engage at the moment. There's no real reason to. You might as well just wait for the 2-2 to complete, and able to pick off a few Zealots down to the bottom here. We've got some pressure coming in from Squirtle. Could be a nasty anti-timing, actually, here for him, but then again, +3 armor is about to finish, so that kind of negates those upgrades anyway. So maybe Squirtle can push in here. They don't actually have any legs left. I mean, look at that. They've got no HP, or one of them's only got 1 arm. I'm pretty sure head's fallen off, but yeah, that's why that's a bad idea. That's why that doesn't work out.
Well, it does give Illusion one critical piece of information, though. He does see the double robos up at the front, so he responds immediately by putting up 2 starports. So he knows he's going to have to deal with Colossi very, very soon.
Indeed. All right, well, freebie pylon as donated to the Illusion Charity Foundation. And this third base potentially under an awful lot of threat, but here comes the trade right now. Chargeless now moving in. This is a horrible, horrible situation to be in. It's like, well, I traded third for the third. No, I'm just gonna lose the third, and I'm gonna have to pull my forces all the way back. But if he catches his opponent out here and is able to sandwich him in there, destroy his army, then that might work out pretty well. In fact, I think that Storm did more damage to the Zealots than it did for anyone else there, but they're still living through it. And here we go. This is looking a little ugly, unfortunately, for Illusion. While he's able to take out some Zealots, the majority of the force slipped away through the third. And a few Ghosts taken out too there as well. So even that was a good trade.
All those high-value units getting away, as you mentioned. Archon, Sentries, High Templar getting away without taking any damage. And it's just Zealots that were used to deny third base, and that's well worth it every time. As we can see, it's been 9 workers killed now, so he kind of wins that war back a little bit. He took some damage earlier on, but not too big of a deal. And Illusion, he's almost maxed, though, to his credit. He's got a well-rounded force, just needs a few additional Vikings.
Indeed, he does. There's actually a lot of medevacs in that composition. That's 9, perhaps a little bit more than usual, but we shall see how it turns out for him one way or the other. The forces are now maxed, so Illusion adds on 3 more Marauders and starts +3, and that is what he's got left. A little bit of supply remaining here for Squirtle. Interested to see what he decides to warp in. I think that is exactly what he wants to do. He does want to warp in there. And 4th base will, of course, be instantly cancelled and denied, but Squirtle looking for a fight here.
Yeah, starts to roll his way up now, but Illusion looking to give it right back to him, leading with those Vikings, seeing if he can get off the first couple of critical volleys, but isn't able to do so quite yet.
No, he didn't. That's a shame, actually. He had enough Vikings to do some significant damage to at least one Colossus there, and it did not happen. So, a bit indecisive there by Illusion, also by Squirtle there, just to poke in, lose a couple of Stalkers here and there. The flank is coming around here. Will he be able to catch those? Oh, that's a nice move, actually. Get some good firepower onto those Vikings right at the front there, but not able to pick them off. Loses a Colossus in the process. Maybe not enough Stalkers in that force. Storm does reasonable damage, but Illusion is still at 200.
Yeah, and he's been able to dodge these storms pretty effectively so far, and those were some pretty good EMPs sent towards his opponent as well.
Yeah, but can he do anything with it?
All the Templar,
exactly.
though.
He takes shields out, but not energy. So that's actually not that useful, as much as I wish that it was.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So now the upgrades are just continuing for Squirtle. He's sitting pretty comfortably on 4 bases. Illusion trying to take a 4th of his own. He's floating out that orbital command right now, and he did finish up another command center, so we can take a 5th in pretty short order. But we'll see if he can get some damage done here. This is a pretty good position for Squirtle, though, attacking by his photon cannons. May take some free economic damage, though, by Illusion.
Yeah, certainly. He could pop a couple of units up there. I like the fact that he's not overcommitting to that spot, because that's a really nasty area to get trapped in. And it's very possible for Squirtle to surround and eliminate him in that. But it's okay. He's just doing a little bit of harassment here and there. Might even end up taking out the assimilator down there. But what do we see from Squirtle? Passive play, as always. Very safe, very chilled out player. Unrattleable, unshakable. And is now able to pick those off. But the aggression comes in here. And I mean, he could take that, but he's going to trade a lot of units for it. So is it really worth it? Well, he thinks it might be.
Well, if he takes that down, as soon as he does, he can expect a counterattack from his opponents. That is a huge amount of Templar sitting at the back, and they have not been under any EMP fire quite yet. And frankly, Squirtle's been able to roll through that entire process, and still, I don't know, he's just unstoppable. He hasn't even used his Templar in this engagement yet.
Yeah, that's really surprising, actually. A lot of EMPs went down, but they weren't as effective as you might think. EMP does not have the radius it once did, I'm afraid, and it is not working out so well here for the one and only Quantic.Illusion, who is under a super amount of pressure here. Feedbacks go down, and the medevac's now useless. Storms and mules, and that is a mana storm, ladies and gentlemen.
G. Good job.